Okay, my outstanding friends, a new day at Mudfossil University. As you know, I have been talking about all the mythology and all the ancient history and so forth. Now, we are going to start the whole thing over again. Mudfossils and Titans of our world, Mudfossil world. The world is a mudfossil. Now, Paul Amatucci is writing books for, in general, but I am working with him on basically a new library to cover each one of these topics. And there's a ton of topics. We got a lot of topics to cover. So right now he's writing one on Velikovsky and the ancient stories of how the Great Flood occurred. And I also, he's just rewriting my book. Updating it a little bit and making it kind of flashy looking, because I just put it out for 99 cents just so that Velikovsky would not be forgotten. And I never advertised it, never did anything, never even spoke about it for years and years, because it was just too controversial. Everybody hated Velikovsky because he took away all their power. So anyway, this is the kind of stuff we're going to be going over, and we're going to be looking at the actual religious aspects of this. I'm not a religious type of person in general. I never was, but it depends on how you define religion at the moment, and we're going to go through that too. Because what about the Gnostic texts? Are those off bounds? No, I see no texts as being off bounds. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. This is a fabulous book. You can go on here and find it. Every one of them is like this here. I'll just flip to here. I don't know what it means. Number 16, remember that to change your mind and to accept correction are free acts too. The action is yours, based on your own will, your own decision, and your own mind. That's to be able to change your mind. I'm telling you, look at it. Boom. What do we got here? Here's false friendship is the worst. Avoid it at all costs. If you're honest and straightforward, meanwhile, it should show in your eyes. It should be unmistakable. And that's right. I mean, this guy was absolute. To see things as they are, substance, cause, and purpose. The freedom to do only what God wants and accept whatever God sends. This guy was. And anyway. And then we're going to get into, of course, the Gnostic text, which is Pistis, Sophia, as well as these Gnostic Nag Hammadi texts. I'm telling you, some of this stuff that was written was just beyond belief. Well, it is beyond belief. Now, but it's true. Beyond belief, but true. That's my new saying. All right, we are going to go to Appolodorus of Athens right now, who wrote about Typhon. Okay, so there's Appolodorus here, Appolodorus of Athens, and he was a scholar. He actually, listen to this, the Encyclopedia of Greek Mythology called Bibliotheca, or the library, was traditionally attributed to him, which is Appolodorus of Athens, but it cannot be his, as it cites Castor the Analyst, who was a contemporary of Cicero rather than the author of the Bibliotheca, is now designated pseudo-Appolodorus. Well, they keep doing pseudo this, pseudo that. Well, let me just tell you something. Let's see what Appolodorus wrote. All right, let's see if it makes sense. I don't care who wrote it. If it makes sense what was written, that's what I want to see, and it does. All right, this is supposed to be Appolodorus of Athens right here. And this is going to be Appolodorus 1.6.3 Typhon. All right, listen to this. When the gods had overcome the giants, Earth was still more enraged and had intercourse with Tartarus and brought forth Typhon in Sicilia, a hybrid between man and beast in size and strength surpassed all the offspring of earth. His thighs was of human shape and such prodigious bulk that he outtopped all the mountains. His head often brushed the stars. One of his hands reached out to the west and the other to the east, and from them projected 100 dragons' heads. Have not seen that, but from the thighs downward he had huge coils of vipers, which when drawn out reached his very head and emitted a loud hissing. His body was all winged, unkempt, hair streamed all on the wind from his head and cheeks, and fire flashed from his eyes. Such and so great was Typhon, when hurling kindled rocks, he made for the very heavens with hissing and shouts, spouting a great jet of fire from his mouth. But when the gods saw him rushing at heaven, they made for Egypt in flight. Being pursued, they changed their forms into those of animals. And then Zeus pelted Typhon at a distance with thunderbolts and sliced his neck. Anyway, there's a lot to this. Now, if you go back to Appolodorus 1.1, it starts right, the whole story of the earth being created by, well, this is the thing we have to start looking into deep, because I don't want to make a bunch of statements about this or that. I don't know. I don't know. All I could do is read what it says. And this, when they talk, you just heard what it said about his group. Well, here, let's see what we got. There he is right there. All right, there he is. His red flaring eye, his flashy, fluty stuff all flaking away from him, spitting fire at the guys that are hanging around underneath him, which is a fish. Here he is, all the way over here. Here's his thighs of human shape. And then there were the coils that come way down, and they do. This, if you go and look at that very closely, you'll see that the whole area there is some kind of skin. And from here down is his neck, and he's got cut right there. And those things are on the map. He's got cut right there. They are on maps, ancient maps. So this is not silly. This is not ridiculous. And here he is. Zeus is pelting Typhon. Here's the coils. And here's another rendition of what Typhon would look like. But we can see what he looked like. It was a dragon. It was a dragon. I mean, you really don't have any way to deny what I'm talking about. None. Zero. His head often outtopped the stars. Standing up, he would be at least twice or 3 times as high as a space station. His head often brushed the stars. His red, flaring, flashy eye. He's spitting fire down on that fish and attacked his fish's vital flesh right here. This gigantic fish. There's his tail, runs all the way right back up here. And there's his fin. I think the eye is right here. This, I'm not sure what that is, but forget that. These are all his scales. Now, in Feng Shui, they show a dragon that looks identical to this, wrapped around a bell with a chain coming down right through the fish's back, just like that. It's identical. So they must have known something or in Feng Shui land. All the way across North Africa. That thing is monumentally large. And it's not the only one. They're all over the place. And all of the ancient stories appear to me now to have very, very substantial foundations. Absolutely. That's North Africa. This was well spoken about. And guess what else was? Quetzalcoatl. And guess where he is? He's right here. That's the feathered serpent right there, my friends. There's his nose and his face and coming up, going all the way up the East Coast. And here's his feathers up here, which are the Green Mountains. All right, they sell feather meal to make things grow green. And here's his head right here. Snakes all the way up. This is his beard right here. Swish, swish. That's his little beard coming down. That's where his eye is. That's this thing all right up here is his headdress, which is all feathers. And you can see, no question whatsoever, the feathers are there. You see that? That's exactly, precisely what a feather is. I got some around here. Hold on. You see that? There's no difference whatsoever. So don't tell me this is not Quetzalcoatl. Here's another one over here. This one's a little eroded, but that one there is like, it's like this one. And they're all over his head. I mean, because that's where his headdress was. This whole thing was his headdress. So all of these things that they had written in the past, you think they're a joke. I don't think they're a joke at all. So what do they mean? Well, that's what we want to talk about. All right, this is going to get really, really intense and deep and extended, I believe. We're going to be talking about Pistis Sophia, which is all about light. And it's these are the light mysteries, they call them. And it's very, very deep. And part of that is the Gnostic scriptures and fragments, the Acts of Thomas, and this is extremely long. All of this is the Acts of Thomas. I haven't read it much, to be perfectly honest with you. This is the Syriac infancy gospel, where Jesus was a baby, like, I don't know, only a few months old or whatever, certainly not able to speak, stood up and says, I am the Son of God, I am here to save humanity. That's what they read, they said. And, you know, in the Quran, they talk about Jesus, and this is a twin of Jesus, who knows? They talk about this right here. In the Syriac-speaking culture of Upper Mesopotamia and Syria, the apostle was called Judas Thomas. He's the one that wrote this here, the Nag Hammadi. All right? He was Doubting Thomas, which means the twin. Now, they talk about, could he have been Jesus' twin? All this stuff needs to be discussed and thought about. So, Deimos, a name by which the apostles also called in the Gospel of John, means twin in Greek. Perhaps some regarded the two as blood brothers. Perhaps the twinship was regarded as spiritual, symbolic, sometimes as the Christian Gnostic system. Thomas seems to be this worldly reflection or image of a divine Savior figure, an early body inhabited by a spirit like the Savior's. In any event, Thomas became a focus of special interest. And he wrote, well, here it is right here. Nag Hammadi Library, translated by Stephen Patterson and Marvin Mayer. Visit the library for early transitions. All right. These are the secret sayings the living Jesus spoke, and Didymus Judas Thomas recorded them. And I'm going to tell you, these are some serious things. The first thing it says is, if you understand these texts, you will not. And he said, which is Jesus, these are all the things that Jesus said while he was alive. This isn't after he came back from after the resurrection. This was when he was actually alive. He said, whoever discovers the interpretations of these sayings will not taste death. Secondly, he said, those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, they will marvel and will reign over all, and after they have reigned, they will rest. And then he goes on in other areas to say that the earth is a body and a corpse. And if you look and you're smart enough, you can figure it out. People just laugh and walk away. But the things that I have discovered and the things that I either have shown you or will show you should knock the socks completely off your feet. And then you will taste the ground that you are on. And it is not the ground you thought you were on. That I can guarantee you. Okay, my friends, I'm going to wrap it up here for today, but we're going to get deeper and deeper into this. Emanuel Velikovsky, my personal hero, researched basically as I am doing, as much as he could, but he was physically on the ground in these places and getting these texts and these carvings and all of these things right from the source. And every place on earth had the same story about this great flood that we had about 3,500 years ago. And Velikovsky records it extremely well. And they claimed it was because of the feared god Jupiter gave birth to a fiery comet which almost hit Earth. And that is what caused everything, the havoc on Earth. And it's also preserved Typhon and all the rest of them, the things that I've been talking about. Now, all I can take from it is that there is truth there. It is not some silly story made up to scare kids into being good. This was true, and this was a story about Jesus Christ and the way we should be living our lives, and we're not. Basically, I don't think very many people are. I can tell you one thing, I never lived my life according to that, and I'm still probably not doing too good of a job. It's a hard thing to do, but if you don't pay attention, I can guarantee you're going to be in trouble. As far as I could determine, you're going to be one way or the other. You're going to be in good shape at the end, or you're not going to be in good shape at the end. The end is the beginning. All right? The end is the beginning. Now, if you are at the end and you haven't learned, the beginning is not going to be good. As far as I can determine, that's all I'm saying is what I have extracted from my research. I could be totally wrong, but I feel that I have done enough research to feel confident that what I'm saying is enough well recorded, and there's enough evidence on the face of this planet to show that there's a good chance that the things that I have discovered and read and interpreted by myself, not necessarily from somebody else's eyes, from my own eyes, looking at what I am seeing, I say Jesus Christ was as advertised. And we were in terrible, terrible trouble, exactly like we are right now. Absolutely terrible trouble the world is in. Absolutely horrifying trouble. And he came to say, look, we can get out of this, but you got to trust me. You got to work with me. There's bad people doing bad things, and they are pretending to be your leaders. And that's the same thing's happening now as far as I'm concerned. I have no faith in anything anymore, other than faith in God and Jesus Christ. That's my last word for today. All right? Happy birthday, Jesus. All right, I have to be perfectly honest with you. I am no authority whatsoever on any of the religious texts or any of that stuff. I am a material scientist. I see what I see. I try to relate it to something that was written in the past. That's what I did. Now, I am trying to understand this because I do want to live that second life. And Jesus said, you know, if you do the right things, you will be resurrected into a new good life. If you don't do the right things, you will be resurrected, but it's not going to be a good life. That's what it sounds like to me. Again, I am no hero here. I don't know any of this stuff. I am learning. I'm trying to learn. I lived the first part of my life as just an absolute hedonist. It was just all about me. Whatever was right for me was the way it should go. Now, I'm not so sure. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that I am not too important to this whole thing. For some reason, I found this stuff, and I feel compelled to mention it, because I'm telling you right now, your teachers, your professors, your priests, and all these people that you've put your faith in, they don't have any clue about this either. I don't care what they tell you. They say, oh, I know all about this. Oh, God gave me this great inspiration. No, he didn't. You are taking it from your own perspective based on your own research. It's the only possible thing you can do. And then you interpret it as to the way that you feel most comfortable with. I try to interpret things according to what I physically see. I have people that they see exactly what I'm showing them. They say, "Oh, it doesn't matter. It can't be true because it's just too spectacular." No, it's not too spectacular. It's exactly what was written. So you got some work to do. I got some work to do. But we've got to start getting together and starting to realize that, each one of us isn't the most important thing. It's the whole ball of wax you got to put together so that it doesn't melt and just get destroyed. And right now, things are a mess. Absolute mess. I never saw anything such a disaster. Of course, I haven't paid any attention. It might have been this way right since the day I was born, and it probably has been. I just had never paid any attention. I didn't realize how misguided and how misled we were, and how I gave all my authority away to the people that used it against me. That's what happened. You say, okay, you're the teachers. You just tell me what I should say. I'll say it. No. They tell you what to say based on what they want you to say, not what's reality. I have found that that's just not, there may be some good ones, but boy, I haven't found a whole lot of them. Maybe you have. But I always feel like such a downer coming out saying these kind of things, but until we stop and just pay attention and stop just absorbing what we're flushed into us, and I mean flushed. You're not learning, you're being flushed with whatever poop somebody wants to put into you and say this is reality. And then you feel obligated to say it because you want to believe in Christ and you want to believe in God and you want to believe in an afterlife. And then they make it seem like it's so ridiculous that anybody could believe in that stuff. It's just insane. And that's what happened to me. And I felt the exact same way. I said, how could this possibly be true? It's insanity. Totally crazy. Dragons and monsters and giants and demons and, people floating down from heaven. And it was just, I couldn't get my head around it, but I'm telling you right now, I'm starting to realize there's at least a lot of substance here that is just so spectacular that the average mind right now is just completely seized. There's just no way to break out from the indoctrination that we've had. Most people, I find that they're just so fully indoctrinated, no way they're going to break out of it that I can see. Show them all the things, show them the reality, and it just does not sink in. So I know I'm just babbling on here, but I just don't know what to do anymore. I really don't. I realize that the truth is not welcome, and it probably never will be. And these are the things that Christ talk about. He said, you'll see, you'll never see. You'll hear, you'll never hear. It'll be right in front of your face. Doesn't matter. You'll never accept it. And those are the people, I got a feeling those are the people that are going to be in trouble. Those are the people that didn't seek. They didn't look. They didn't care. They just wanted to live their quick life and enjoy the hell out of it. And they did, and they may end up leading them to that direction. I don't know. Don't look at me as the one to follow, necessarily. I mean, you should look at the things I present and then see what they make sense to you. That's all I can say. I'm trying to put it together myself, so don't put any burdens on me. I got enough burdens going on right now.